It's been 2 years almost to the day since we saw many of your faces, so thank you for coming out. We are so happy to see you. It is a wonderful way to celebrate International Women's Day. And it gives me great pleasure. Oh, for those of you who may not know me, I'm Jill Abrams. I'm the executive director of the foundation, and I have the great privilege of working every day with Francine and Joseph to help make things better for women and girls around the world. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for being here to support us. And what I'd like to do is to introduce our good friend and partner, President Sian Bilak from Barnard College.
All right. Hi everyone, it's wonderful to be here to celebrate International Women's Day with the whole Lafrac family and that Bandier, which I want everything that's here. So Barnard is the premier institution in the world focused on women and creating women leaders, and we're so happy to partner with Francine and the foundation to build really a premier center focused on women's well-being, and I think there's never been a more important time for that. I just wanted to give a few words as we think about International Women's Day, something that we often don't think about as women, which is our health and wellness. We're always taking care of everyone else, and I think during this pandemic it's more important than ever to empower girls and young women and women of all ages to really focus on their own well-being. And so at Barnard, we have created and partnered with Francine and her family to create the Francine Lafrac Foundation Center for Wellbeing. And what I think is so neat about this center is that it is focused on physical well-being, mental well-being, but a third pillar that you don't often hear talked about in the conversation about well-being is financial well-being. Women tend not to be at the table when they're talking about finances. And when they are at the table, they're often less confident given their ability than men. And our goal at Barnard, and in partnership with Francine, and also in partnership with Denise, who's been wonderful in supporting our center, is to change that. We want to change the narrative around what well-being means. It's not just physical health, it's not just mental health, it's really being in charge and knowing and having confidence in your own financial ability. And we hope to be a model for colleges and universities, but also for young girls and women, and for all of us really to raise our hand and ask questions and guide our own future. And with that, I think we're in a good position to do some much needed work in the world. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We just have one microphone.
We do. That's okay. Welcome.
Thank you all for coming. We have so many stars in the room, it's really hard to just have one microphone. But I want to first thank some of the ambassadors that are here. Same Sky ambassadors, Kim Britz-Alara, Andrea Hunsberger, and I can't see others, but thank you so much for coming. And of course, the great team at Bandier, Lisa and Alexis, and of course my sister. And the amazing women from Barnard. You just heard from the president, Sian. Read her books, read her articles. She is a disruptor and she's making history. And Lisa Gay, who's the development director, and Marina Catalazzo, who's the chief health officer. So thank you for coming. And today is International Day of Women. We celebrate with women all over the world the power and potential of women and girls. We know that there are women suffering and girls suffering, especially with our sisters in the Ukraine. We see you, we hear you, we're inspired by your courage and your resilience, and we're reminded tonight of the resilient women in Rwanda who in 1994 survived the genocide and came back like phoenixes, rose, and are better than ever. And if I could say something to the women right now who fled their country and are refugees, don't fear, you will come back like phoenixes and rise again, stronger than ever. So I'm very excited to be with Jennifer, who's absolutely a star, and created this unbelievable brand, Bandier, for active women who love fashion, fitness, and wellness. And she is really a remarkable girl, and I want everyone to hear her story because I thought for International Women's Day, that she would be a perfect choice for someone who's a great entrepreneur. So tell us, Jennifer, about how breaking your foot led to you becoming the Queen of Athleisure wear.
Thank you, Francine. First of all, we're related, obviously. Now, we do look alike. And there's my sister right there, Allie, and my mom. And I would say before I say anything, there's a village of people that really make all of us, that we all join together and support each other. And that value is priceless to me. And Francine has demonstrated that so many times, and it's been an example that I've always thought was so important. And I've been thinking about the Ukraine. I've tried not to watch TV for like the last year. My sister will be like, what about Dr. Seuss? And I'm like, what about him? I have no idea, because if I don't read the article, because I can't take all how depressing everything is. But with Ukraine, I just can't stop watching it. And so I appreciate you saying that. So I will say this, on my 30th birthday, my mother broke her leg. And on her birthday, I broke my foot. So we're very into breaking different parts of our body in honor of each other. It's almost very Viking or something, but we're not Vikings. So I broke my foot, I was with my sister, and I was just concerned that I ripped like the one pair of pants that no matter what like weight I was, they fit me. And it made me look, and she was like, wait, your foot looks quite large. I mean, you should go home and like check it out. So P.S. I broke my foot and I was in a cast for like 5 months over the winter. And it was like the snowiest winter New York had ever had. And I couldn't get anywhere. I resolved myself to staying at home. Wasn't a hard sell to watch TV, read magazines, and not think about what was going on. And then I realized when it was over and I was sort of getting back to my life that I didn't have a lot of direction of what I was going to do. And I always feel like for me personally, idle time, it might be good for like a week, but I need to have, it's not even so much structure, but direction for me. So I was walking and my sister's like, are you Forrest Gump? I don't get this walking thing. You're walking around the park 50 times, down to Wall Street. You've now told me every bathroom you use in the city. What's clean, what's a good one. And I kept thinking that, like I was listening to books, that I would think of something that I knew that I had like my next act in me. And one day I came home and I said, because I couldn't find anything that I wanted to wear in New York. I mean, I could find bras or different pieces, but women were not at the forefront of, Nike, they were in the basement in the back. They're now in the top, in the front. But when we started, this is 2013, and I said to my husband, I said, why is there no multi-brand activewear boutique in New York? And he was like, why? And I was like, because I want to open a store. And he was like, oh God, really? Why? What are you thinking? And I think he thought, I'd been thinking about this, and it just, I would say that my intuition has been really good to me. I always say, I'm not going to win the Math Olympics, but I have like, my intuition has been my superpower. So my mom, I said to her, what do you think? She was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds fabulous, Jennifer. My sister was like an inspiration because she always worked out all the time, and I started showing her this clothing, and I realized I couldn't afford to open a store in New York. So I opened in the Hamptons near where my house was, and I didn't really know that much, so I knew that I needed to ask. From failure, I knew that I needed to make the right mistake, the right decision. So I met this woman, Jane, and who is still one of my closest friends, and we still work together, but she does have a full-time other job, which I'm in denial about. And she's like, do you want to go to the Coterie? And I was like, what's the Coterie? It's the the show at the Javits Center. And we went, there was no active aspect. There were like brands here and there. There's, hundreds and hundreds of brands and there would be one. But it was like we had this voracious appetite for finding anything active or anything related. And we put our idea, I knew that with 50 new brands that you would never heard of, we needed to have an anchor brand that would make people feel safe and comfortable and make the consumer be like, oh, I've never heard of these, but they have Nike and Adidas. So I put together a deck. It was the first deck I ever did. I don't even know that I knew that that was a thing at the time. So we put together this deck and I was like, this is amazing. We brought it to Nike and the guy was like, you want to open a women's store in Southampton? We were like, yeah. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, we come back and present to the team from Portland is coming. We were like, what? Seriously? We couldn't believe it. We were so excited that we were gonna have Nike in our store. And he kept saying to me, are you Paragon or are you Dover Street? I said, we're neither, we're a hybrid. We're fashion, the intersection where fashion and fitness meet each other.
There's something that you did though I want you to talk about, which has to do with other women entrepreneurs and women's brands and how you nurture them, because I think it's so important, the values that you exude and the inclusivity and how important that is for you.
When we started the brand, most brands only went up to size medium, maybe a large, but they were like, really, wanna order larges? I was like, yeah. I don't wanna have a store that just caters to zeros or extra small. Like we wanna have every different type of woman. And I think that was, I had so many fights and I kept saying, Nicole will remember, I'd say if you don't start making large, extra large, we're gonna have to drop your product. And really standing for women, and I'm not of the mind where I feel that I'm competing with other women. I want to support other women. And so people, any brand that was woman owned, we would nurture, help them. And I mean, that's very much Francine's sort of motto is I would meet people wherever I go, they're like, are you related to Francine Lefrak? I'm like, yeah, why? They're like, oh my God, she mentored me. So I wouldn't say, because, that's not like my favorite word for me, because I'm not sure I have that much knowledge, but I like to really help people and make people feel that they can do anything. And including the people that work in our stores, the most valuable people. I say this every day. We have our website is the majority of our product is sold, but it's the women and men that work in the stores that have the first line to the customer. And they have the most knowledge. Like, I don't care what data tells you, they'll tell you, this is what you want to, this is what the customer doesn't like. It's not stuff we'll find online. But I'm always looking for brands that are woman-owned, women-founded, and a way to support women. There's no room, in my opinion, to not support other women. The world is very different than it was. In 2022, I would always say one of the core values of Bandier is we're women supporting other women. We don't want to destroy other women because we feel like their business is threatening us. We want to empower them and help them. And we always tried to do that. And the road is not always like, easy and paved for you, but I think that you always feel good if you go the distance, or people will say to me, they'll go, what are you doing in the store? I'm like, well, where should I be? You know what I mean? And this is where I get the most information. I love being here or anywhere. And we've stored in Dallas, we've stored in LA, and in Long Island. And I think that there's major opportunity for us. It's just the biggest issue is if there's only one of you or like the team, you can't be everywhere all the time.